Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the CATA Secondary School Podcast. I'm your host, CJ Rosenborough, and in today's episode, we're discussing technology that you can utilize in your everyday practice to improve your workflow and patient care in your athletic training facility. As always, we're excited to have Ashley and Katie joining us to share their insights and experiences. But before we jump into the conversation, let's quickly break down what we'll be covering in today's episode. So going over technology in the secondary school setting, we're going to quickly do an introduction, like barriers to tech, kind of where we stand right now. Then go into artificial intelligence, how to use AI in your ATF, how to implement that, because it is new and ever changing. And then finish up with some apps and websites, systems that we currently use that we think could benefit you guys to make your life a little bit easier, maybe a lot bit easier. So without further ado, let's hop into the introductions. So barriers to tech. I think the biggest one right off the bat, Ashley, is whenever we're implementing something new, we have to figure out what is it, how do we apply it, and is it going to increase our workflow, and is it HIPAA compliant? So just kind of want to get your thoughts on when you think of tech and implementing it in your athletic training facility, what's your initial thoughts? Like, yeah, or yeah, I could do that.
It's initial fear and like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work, but I know it'll make life easier later. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I know there are some new like apps out there that can really augment some workflow things. And to be honest, I almost need to wait till summer so I have time to figure out how to implement them. But yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Oh, it's my favorite thing to implement it right in the middle of football season. I just like to, stack everything up and just get overwhelmed. Katie, what are your thoughts?
No, I think Ashley just said all of my thoughts in the same breath. I immediately am like, how am I going to do that? And then spend a couple days during the summer figuring out. And then I'm like, oh, gosh, I'm so happy I did this. My life is so much easier. So it's always a little give and take where I'm immediately like, oh my God, how am I going to figure that out? I don't have time for that. Oh, and then I do it and I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad. And it actually makes my life way, way easier. So I continue to do it, but I do it during the summer so I don't have to do it during football season. Crazy.
Yeah, you crazy.
Yeah, I actually kind of fall into that. I do a soft launch of stuff. I didn't do this on purpose, but I do it in spring, and then I use summer to kind of fine tune it, and then fall is kind of like, okay, let's stress test this thing. It actually works well. I completely accidentally. I think I just got bored during the spring. I needed to change something, and then I had the summer to fine tune. I was like, hey, this is actually a pretty nice process. But
I will say, I think sometimes I get going with it in the fall and suddenly winter hits and I don't have to do it as much and it just like tapers off and I'm like, "Hey, what happened to that? Where did it go?" And then spring hits and I have to like re-engage and be like, "No, we have to do it that way because that's the easy way."
Yeah, it's
So
almost like when you have time to not, like, it works perfect in the fall, and then you're like, oh, I have more time. I don't have to use this that helped me. And then all of a sudden spring hits, you're like, oh no, bring it back. I need that. So one thing that we do need to think about is HIPAA compliance. So that's a big one. It's a quagmire. Honestly, I don't fully understand the HIPAA requirements for a lot of tech. If you are in outreach with a hospital or a clinic, or even possibly a school, maybe touch base with your nurse, kind of collaborate and see. I know our nurses use Google Docs for some of their stuff, which isn't inherently HIPAA compliant, but you can sign a BAA to be HIPAA compliant. So you can kind of look into what that looks like, but that is a consideration. And then, Ashley, go ahead.
What's a BAA, CJ?
Oh, Jesus. I should have pulled this up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business agreement authorization.
All right.
Hold on. I'm checking that.
I
Business
like,
associate agreement. Oh man, so close. It's a mandatory contract between a covered entity, like a healthcare provider, and a business associate, like the IT provider, that creates, receives, maintains, or transmits protected health information. Ensures that vendors are compliant with HIPAA, because that is part of the rules for HIPAA, to make sure that there is a safe transferring of information. I've really tapped out my knowledge on this. So Katie, go ahead and expand on BAAs.
Well, no, I was going to say, don't you think that if a school is using Google as their platform, that some of that is built into it?
Yeah, it should be. So
Okay.
it might be something where you can't use your personal profile for Google Sheets, but you can use your school profile.
Yeah, you have to use a paid Google Workspace account,
Right.
and have the BAA with proper security configurations.
But that's if
Right.
you're through the school, right? So if the school
That's just in
contracts a
general.
hospital,
That's what requires Google Docs and Forms to be HIPAA compliant.
but does it have to be with your, like if they
has-
have a BAA, but I'm not an employee of that school, but I'm contracted through somebody else? So this is how it gets a quagmire. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
that is a good
So-
question. But I mean, so we use their accounts though, like because we have the school district logins. So I do think that we do count.
So
Probably,
let's talk about on top of that, just to throw this information out there. Oh God. Let's talk about Google though. You can type in code before the subject, or you can type encrypt before the subject, or you can type secure before the subject of your email to safeguard it.
I didn't know that. That's
I didn't
super
know that
cool.
either. Is that through like
So
AI? Or does it just do that on the back end?
yeah, it's a back end thing because we used to use it for the company I worked for, which was a healthcare facility, which had all the protections. But you're getting emails like to your team doctor, who is a different facility, right? And it has to communicate, and you want all of that to be encrypted and safe, but you're sending it system to system, right? So like when it was going from our healthcare email to an outside healthcare email, there were, I don't know what the rules are. I'm not a tech person. Somebody else is probably way smarter in this than I am. But if you typed encrypt or secure ahead of the subject, then it protected that email. And so you could send it to your team doctor without worrying about it.
I just sent Ashley an email, so we're going to see if that works. Cool. So that's something. Yes.
So I just like quickly Googled it. I was like, does it work? It says it only works if your organization has specific pre-configured email encryption gateways.
Okay.
Hopefully your company
But
also has an IT department that you can help with this, because way out of my scope.
But then I did generally Google how to secure Gmail, and it says that when you're composing an email, you can click on encrypt this message. Like there's an option in there.
Okay. So definitely something where it requires a little bit of work on the front end, but it's only a one-time thing. Once you get it set up, it's pretty easy, which is going to be true for a lot of this topic today. But don't let that scare you off of these things.
Yep. And I can read your email, homie.
Oh, dang it. All right. Well, it was not properly encrypted. All right. So
well, wait, aren't you guys in the same email system though? So
no, because he sent it to my personal email.
oh. Okay, live and coming at you as we're testing the options we're trying to provide for you.
All right, last consideration on this is I think a lot of the barriers to technology are dependent on what you have. So if you have a tablet, that opens up some doors, but also closes others, because tablets are not super fun to type on. If you use the Bluetooth keyboard, you got to type kind of slow because it's a little bit laggy. Or if you're just on your cell phone, opens up a lot more accessibility, but then you're also having a conversation of work-life balance. A lot of your work tools are on your phone, and you start to associate phone equals work. And then we have a different issue. So a lot of barriers to tech. Any others that come to you guys' head before we move on to AI? I think those are the main ones.
I think really just if you're provided with any equipment from your provider or not, right? If you get a laptop, if you get a tablet, if you get something from work, if not, you're using your personal computer for that. Or I think one of my schools has a desktop that is from older than the children who are coming into my office to use it, for sure. And so just like your availability to actually have equipment, if you're a new grad who has to purchase a brand new laptop, versus you're given one, there's easier ways and there's hard ways. And so it's what equipment are you able to access?
Yep. I also like to sugarcoat and like cozy up to my IT guys at the school. so that when I need something, they're extra helpful.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Like, hey, do
Same.
you have like an extra tablet laying around? Or hey,
Well,
can you figure
back
out how to
in
make
the
this work?
baseline impact days, being like, "Hey, can we get the computers up and running before the school time comes so we can do that preseason? And how many updates need to be run on computers? Can I walk around the room clicking update for you so that we can get this done quicker? How can I help you?"
Yeah, definitely get to know your IT people. They are fantastic. My old IT guy, his daughter played, and I think I saw her like once. She was a senior, played spring, but he was like, I was like, do you have this or this that I can help to hook up? He's like, oh yeah, you help my daughter. Here you go. And through like a monitor, a multi-connector where I could connect like 3 things, like a mount. Like he hooked me up. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I asked for a TV so I could always have like something playing in my clinic. And that's kind of where we came up against the wall of, no, that's the maximum I give you. I'm like, okay. But it helps you get stuff. So don't be afraid to ask.
Don't be afraid to hear no, folks.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to hear no.
And if you keep hearing yes, keep on asking until you find that no. But don't stop like, oh, I asked too much. Like keep on pushing. Okay, cool. So let's get into AI. First off, Katie, I know you use KI in your clinic, Katie Intelligence. Do you use AI in your clinic for anything?
I do not. I am looking forward to the summer to implement the documentation system that Amy showed us. I do intend to use that, but otherwise, I currently do not use any AI in my athletic training room.
Ashley, how about you?
Same boat. I only know like 2 seconds worth of what Amy showed us, and I need to really dig into that. And I'm super excited to use that.
So I've started on it, which kind of backfired because now I have to give a presentation on it to the group. But I've kind of started again, spring. This is when my brain starts to go haywire. I've started using it and it's pretty awesome. So we'll get into that a little bit. First one, you guys mentioned a couple times what Amy suggested to us, and we kind of touched on it, I think, in documentation. But it's called Open Evidence, right? Is that the correct? Okay, Open Evidence. It's free. You need an NPI number, which highly recommend everyone gets anyways. Helps us with the profession if we have NPI numbers, because it's makes us more.
I think you have to have one now.
Do
I
you have
feel
to have
like
one?
I don't
I-
think you do.
well, I think most schools, like the early and emerging people, their schools are
they're
making them
making
sign up
it.
for it.
Mine
Yeah.
did.
That's good. See, the
Well,
hospital
us old
system I
school
work
folk
with made us
didn't
sign up
have
for
us
it,
do
and
that.
so I didn't
Yeah.
have it until we joined our hospital system.
Oh, okay. Well, plug here. Get an NPI number. It takes about 3 minutes, maybe. Maybe
Call
less.
me if you need help doing it.
Yeah, it's super.
It does
easy.
not take long.
Nope.
Google it. It's fast.
For Open Evidence, I think you might need a BAA. I kind of looked on the back end. I'm not exactly sure. Again, I'm kind of fuzzy on the whole BAA thing. So consult your HR department, IT. I'm not exactly sure who handles that, but that might be something you need to look into, and then how it works in your workflow. So we actually have Amy on the call today. Guest appearance. Are you still using Open Evidence? Have you trialed it out?
I am.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I am. Every day.
How's it work?
Okay. How does it work? So once you sign up for an account, there's a phone or an app version, and then there's also a desktop version as well, because it's an athletic training room setting and high school, secondary school. I typically use my phone or my tablet and I walk around. So like out in my, treatment space, I'll have, I set up the phone next to me or my tablet, and I say to the kid like, hey, this is just going to help me take notes, so that now we have consent, even though they're not 18, but so they know that they're being recorded. And then I always start by having them say like, their first name, birth date, stuff like that, just so I don't get the kids confused. But I normally can tell from context if I kind of start it halfway through. It'll still say like female 16-year-old, like soccer player or whatever. I can pick that up just from our conversation. And then you just kind of let it do its thing. I will say though, it is a little bit of a battery hog. So if you're at like 8%, just because the day's been crazy, just knowing that you're going to use the rest of your battery just on, doing this eval is good to know. But, just kind of let it do its thing. I think the biggest change is that like I've started saying a lot more stuff out loud that I would typically just like inner monologue on. So, and the kids, I think they've been very surprised. I was always taught like, hey, you know, not using a ton of big words around patients because it creates this feeling of like you're smarter than them. But I've literally had to say some of this stuff out loud now. And the kids like look at me and I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. I was like, I'm just saying it for this. And they're like, a lot of big words. And I was like, well, yeah, but don't worry about it. So just saying like, positive valgus or negative valgus, that kind of thing. And then no, it generally does a really, really great job. I do find so I think a lot of people are like, well, I talk to 8 kids at the same time. Like, how does it do with that? I would say if they have drastically different voices, it seems to do okay. If they have a similar voice, so it's a kid on the same team, same age, sex, that kind of thing, sometimes it'll like throw some stuff in there. But so you get to the end of, the recording and you push the transcribe button. Either on the phone itself, you can go back and edit and like pull out. So if there was another kid talking with you about like their injury at that time, you can just pull that data out then. Or when you get to the end of it, looking at it'll create the entire note. You can then go through and edit anything you want at that point. So I appreciate that. Yes, sometimes it can get a little bit confused just because of our type of setting, but that is something that is absolutely modifiable at the end of it. In addition, if for some reason you were billing, it does throw in ICD-9 codes. And then you can actually, on the Open Evidence platform, you can save it per patient if you wanted to. We have a different charting system that we use. So I just take and I drop it, like you can copy very easily and drop it into there. But you can also, like if you would like to just keep all of your stuff on there, the benefit is that then you could go back, ask questions, and it will take everything that it learned from that eval and then answer questions based on that, kind of blending the typical AI like kind of question and answer platform along with like a evaluation note-taking platform. So it's interesting. I know there are also some other ones out there that are like we were piloting we happen to use ATS and they were throwing out a pilot on that one. So yeah, but I like it.
Oh, nice. Okay. And you can create like templates for it to format, right?
Yes, absolutely. So it comes innately with, I think, like 4 or 5 templates. Again, like I said, we use another platform for our actual documentation. So I've actually taken some of the templates that we have from there and dropped it in, and then it'll just fill in that the way that we would like it to. Yeah, I very much enjoy it.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sounds like some of the drawbacks might be like you're working with one person at a time, which is kind of how we like to ideally do evals, but sometimes it just doesn't happen that way, where we're like guiding rehab, we're guiding whatever while we're doing an eval. Have you run into any issues with that where you have like you're talking to 3 different people at once and it catches stuff that you're saying to somebody else?
Yes. So like I said, if they have a similar voice, it doesn't do as great a job as kind of filtering out like another conversation. Yeah, you can press pause and not, close the entire note. But you also can't have 2 open at the same time. But you could like toggle between them, like, pause one, then go to the other, open it up, do that. So it's more, I typically have it open for like my like initial eval, or if I'm doing like a re-eval or progress or something like that. But also at the end, it doesn't have to be just an evaluation type setup. I also find a lot of benefit at the end of the day. So like if I have somebody coming in and PT coming in and mentoring with me or something like that, we will sit at the beginning of the day and kind of run through all the people that they might encounter that day. And if I just say kind of like those quick and dirty things, it'll actually spit out a note, and a rather intelligent sounding note just on those kind of updatey type things, so that it is also does a great job with the dictation side of things. And I've tried a lot of that in the past with several of the different systems, and I feel like sometimes they really struggle with the medical words, and I think that's one of the big downsides with a lot of the dictation stuff. And this one is like, oh yeah, no, since it's a medical based platform, we know all those words. We know that you're not trying to say something completely different. I also appreciate that side of it. Just at the end of the day, I'll run through like 20 kids on the progress that we did that day and just taking that and then dropping it in.
I love that. I did kind of, when you first brought this up, is kind of when I started exploring everything, and I tested out dictation on Healthy Roster, which is the EMR that we use. And it was like every 5th word was just not what I said. And I was trying to like, be on the sideline talking into it, not like screaming, but then I'd have to talk a little bit louder. And then it was maybe every like 8th word was incorrect. And then I was like, I'm spending more time correcting the dictation than if I had just typed it. I'm curious how each thing is. I don't know if that was an iPad issue or a Healthy Roster issue. My phone seemed to not be super great at the dictation either. But that was also within Healthy Roster. So it's nice to hear that it's pretty good about like recognizing what you're trying to say and transcribing that.
Yeah, I've like had it on in a basketball gym just to like kind of put that in context. Like had a kid on the bench and just like set it next to me, and I was like, this is not going to go well. And shockingly, it did. So the other thing is that you do actually have to have like a cell phone signal. So like Katie, I know sometimes a signal, and that's not that crazy. I have a colleague too that I'm like, well, depending on where she's at, I had to text her on, a certain phone. So you do need to have a signal, but yeah, it does a pretty good job.
Okay. Net positive, you think?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, holy cow. And even if it's not a full note, even if like as I'm standing there in a game, I get a chance to, you guys gave those tips before on our documentation episode of like kind of documenting during the game and using like voice memo or something like that. And this is like taking out that whole second step of having to like go back and like format your note because you're just getting it out of your brain at that moment. So there's more space for other things. So I just appreciate that it's just streamlined a lot of that. I'm not a huge AI person in general in my personal life, but man, I am totally on board in my professional life. This has like truly been a game changer.
It seems like it. I know at the hospital through Epic, there's another AI called Abridge, which seems pretty similar. Like you just put it there, you talk, and then it takes what they're reporting, what you're saying, and it puts it into a pre-formatted note, and easy. I think you have to pay for that one. It's not free like Open Evidence, and then also it's straight into Epic. I don't think it talks to other systems, but if there's somebody out there who uses like through a hospital and uses Epic for their documentation at the secondary school, good luck. That's tough, but you have a lot of extra tools there, which is awesome. We use Microsoft Copilot. That's our approved AI. So that's one I've been playing around with. It's kind of everywhere. It's in our emails, so we can kind of click the little tab button in our emails to help us spice up emails or make them more professional or help our wording, stuff like that. We also can use it we can use it on all of our devices. So we have iPads, I have my laptop, and that's kind of where I use it a lot. And the workflow is a little bit back and forth to get used to it. It took some time. So essentially what I do is I'll pop a note into Healthy Roster and I'll save it as a draft. That way, if I lose it, because I seem to lose service a lot, or if somebody goes down with a head injury and I have to run and it just deletes it, that way it's at least saved as a draft without me having to like finish the whole note. So I'll just pop in whatever is in my brain. Like Amy said, just get it out, get it onto something. It doesn't have to be clean, doesn't have to be super, super detailed. I kind of get the gist of everything there. And then I copy and paste that into Copilot. Before the day starts, I have like a template that I pop into Copilot because it can't save things for long term. So that is one of the downsides of some of these AI systems. If you're saving templates, some of them don't save them long term because it's just too much memory for them. So they save them within that chat. So each time you close out that chat, whenever it starts getting pretty long, you just have to upload the clinical note template, the treatment template, whatever your template you want is, and say, hey, save this as my template, which have it saved as a Word doc with the instructions at the top. Not very hard. Takes about a minute, maybe 2 minutes. So I take what I blurbed out into Healthy Roster, copy and paste it into Copilot, say format this as either a SOAP note, clinical note, or a treatment note if it's just a quick treatment that day. And it pops what I said into a nice note. It makes it like actually cohesive and makes sense rather than just my brain. I can say manual muscle testing 5 out of 5, elbow flexion 4 out of 5, elbow extension, and it'll put manual muscle testing demonstrated 5 out of 5 strength on elbow flexion with 4 out of 5 strength for elbow. So it makes it more cohesive, more like a well-written note instead of what I jotted down. And then you just obviously have to, there are barriers that you can put within it to say, hey, I don't want you to add any extra verbiage, but you still have to go and look at what it said. Cause sometimes they'll spit out stuff where you're like, no, did not want that in there. That's not accurate. But other times it'll put stuff in there where you're like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. I did consider that, but I didn't put it in my note. But it'll pop it in there in like a differential diagnosis part. It'll say like, ruled this out. I'm like, oh yeah, I did roll those out. And then I'll kind of put a little blurb of here's why, but it'll kind of jog my memory, or it'll kind of bring up something where I'm like, okay, I didn't really consider that, or I didn't articulate that in my note at all, but I did do it. And then it just kind of gives me a nice guideline to work through. So it's been pretty nice. I really like it, but it does require a little bit of back and forth. But I think it's less time required than me sitting out and like actually writing a nice note, making it pretty, making it cohesive. So,
I would say, although, I mean, I love that you highlighted, you have to go back and check this. Like we still have to use our brain. And I think that is I don't know about you guys, that's still an important component of documenting for me, is like kind of processing later and just being like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. So yes, the AI might augment like the differential diagnosis, but still use your brain. Like you don't get to just drag and drop this over. I don't think that should ever happen. This needs to get reviewed. Like this is still artificial intelligence. And if it needs to go through our filter if we're putting our name at the bottom of that. So like, I think it is probably, even if I stopped using it tomorrow, I think the things that I would miss actually the very most would be the helping with taking a history and then helping with like the verbiage of the plan. The rest of it in between, if you have like Katie, I know you have like a clicking, kind of thing that we talked about on the documentation one. I think that is still a really nice thing to do. And I would be fine with that. And then maybe just dropping in like the history and the plan down at the bottom is really, really nice. But you don't get to just drop this over and then walk away. Like we still have to put our name on this and make sure that, that you're right, that it's coming to the correct summary of what we were thinking, because we still might have to sit in front of a court and you don't get to say, well, AI said that and I didn't have anything to do
in there.
Yeah. At the bottom. So you still have to read it.
And there's been some things that's popped in where I'm like, that's not a thing. That doesn't exist. Like as differential diagnosis, I'm like, no, that's not correct. There are things where, again, it jogs my memory.
This is the time of my flexor hallucis longus.
Yeah, with no radiation. But and then the other thing I will say, and I don't know how often Open Evidence comes across this, but Copilot's been pretty annoying with this lately, is whenever they release an update to the AI, which seems like it's every couple weeks, it's just enough time for you to like really fine tune how you want it to come out and how you want it to spit out with like adjusting your prompts. And then once you finally get it fine tuned, they do an update and it changes. And then the AI all of a sudden like doesn't spit it out the same way. You have to retrain it. It starts adding words again. For mine, it starts adding slashes where there's not supposed to be slashes because I have it formatted for healthy roster. But it starts adding random slashes in there. So you do have to kind of retrain it every now and then whenever there's a update, which is kind of annoying. So Open Evidence do that a lot as well.
No, I haven't had that problem at all.
Must be nice. Cool. So, Katie, does your company use any AI? Like, do you guys have any? You have Copilot? Okay.
I'm actively taking notes on what I need to do for Copilot.
I will send you my presentation.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Anything else on AI before we move on to some apps? I think this is kind of the meat of the episode. Perfect. All right. So we're going to split this up into two. It's going to be systems and apps, because I think a big part of technology is the systems that we can use. And then the apps are just kind of like helpful on top of that. So I'm a big proponent of Microsoft. I use a ton of Microsoft stuff in my everyday work. The biggest one is probably Microsoft Excel. So I've created, I think we talked about this in rehab, but I've created a whole like template for what are our short-term goals, what are our long-term goals for this athlete. And then I can go into that template and I can just add or subtract goals, add or subtract rehab that we're doing for that day. It has sets, reps, notes, whatever. So I go in whenever they come in every third day and I update what we're doing that day and I update the goals and I update the notes and then I just print it off as a PDF and upload it right to our EMR. Super easy for me. And all the kids like kind of know what it's looking at. It has their goals right there that they've helped me create so that it's a collaborative effort. I've also used Planner, which was super helpful when I had a lot of kids coming in because I can like put who's coming in, who I'm expecting to come in. And then when they come in, I just slide them right over to the like showed up column. So Planner is kind of like what's that kind of board that's called where you can just slide stuff over a Nanban? I don't think that's the right word for it. K-Ban, whatever. It's a board that basically just has note cards on it electronically. And you can like post who you have expecting to come in, and then you slide it when they do come in. And if like somebody needs an updated rehab, you just pop it into that column. And at the end of the day, or when you get a free minute, you just start working through the note cards. Like, okay, this kid needs an updated rehab. Okay, this kid came in for treatment. I need to pop that into the EMR. Made it really easy for me to just slide things over as I'm in the busiest part. And then I have notes on kind of how I can address that, or how I can note take on that after, which is super helpful. OneNote, Amy, I saw your screen had a ton of OneNote notes, so maybe you're more proficient in this, but it's nice just for like quick notes, but you can get pretty detailed in OneNote. It has a lot of depth in it. But that's another thing that's within Microsoft. Within Teams, if your employer has a subscription through that you can use just to take quick notes on the sideline, take quick like to do. It's got a lot of different templates, a lot of different highlight icons, colors, stuff like that you can use. I haven't done a deep dive on it yet, but do any of you guys?
Yeah, I've done OneNote for a couple of years. I don't know. I've tried like a couple of the different note-taking ones, mostly for CEU stuff. Just trying to find one that works for me, but it's I drift in and out of that stuff. I do like OneNote because it's pretty searchable and it can go across several platforms. But I always get a little bit nervous as if you move between employers and it's connected to your employee account, which is ideal so you can access it at work. But then you're trying to like do a dump as you're like leaving an institution, and that can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah. I've used it for CEUs, which I really like. But I also have my own personal subscription, so that makes it a lot easier to transfer over. Do you guys use Microsoft at all, Katie and Ashley? No?
Nope. But I need to. I'm learning more about it.
Katie, do you use Google? What platforms do you use at your work? Paper?
Yeah, I use Google. I'm also a Microsoft person, so Google / Microsoft Sheets. Excel, and yeah,
there you go.
I started Excel and Word and linked to Google Sheets as soon as I got on a Gmail or whatever Google platform. The school uses a Google platform, so I was doing it all through there because for a while I didn't have an EMR system, so I was kind of on my own, and so Google was the way to do it. And so now I'm adjusting life to being in an EMR system, but it's hard for me to get away from the Googles now. So but yeah, I'm working into getting away from the Googles and getting into our EMR a little bit. But now I'm like, again, CJ, I'm going to need you to send me a template and a how-to on how to get from Copilot and OneNote and make it just go to Healthy Roster. Anything you want to send me on that, I'm happy to take it and run with it.
Yeah.
How are you guys sharing the information back with the students? So are you guys still, I think that's sometimes where I get a little bit caught, is because they're not on the same platforms as us. Like, so you were talking about like doing like a rehab progression. Like, are you sharing that with the kids, or how does that work?
Yeah. So every time they come in for mine, I'll post it under their documents, and then I can show which ones are seen. So periodically I'll just go and hide old ones, but it'll have their last name and then the date. So they just go into documents under their EMR because they have access to it, and they just click on the date of their rehab one, or if it's the most recent date, if there's not a new one in there. So they can just pull it up as soon as they get to the ATF and just get started on their exercises. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's interesting kind of seeing the so some kids don't have a phone, or they have like a really rudimentary phone because that's how their parents have, that's how their family works. And that's been interesting, making sure that we have like an additional device in there that they can at least access and like sign in. That's not a problem, but I'm always a little bit leery to go like fully technology based and make that part of their rehab and not have any type of written thing for the kids that don't have their phone with them that day, or again, don't have access to that type of phone.
Yeah, I've run into that a couple of times. One workaround was they use their school computer, But then again, if they don't have their school computer, I just pull it up on mine. And then as they're like, hey, I finished that one, I'll just call out their next one. If there's a lot of that, that will gunk the system up very quickly. Luckily, it's kind of, for me, it was more of like the one-offs where I would only have to do this for one or two athletes a day. And I can kind of manage calling out and go back to my computer. Or if you have two monitors, just have it up on the one monitor that they can kind of go look at and review whenever they need to go to the next exercise. But yeah, that is a good point. Some kids don't have cell phones, which I always kind of applaud the parents when they are like, they don't want me to have a cell phone 24/7. I'm like, good.
Yeah. Yeah. It always is always that balance of like, oh man, like, yes, I don't want you to be on technology all the time, or our concussion kids, man. So like, we're like, really limit your screen time. And then it's like, but can you sign in and then give me a symptom checklist and all of this we're asking them to do like on a screen. So I think, yeah, we battle with that as well.
And I mean, there's plus and minuses for paper too. Like I used to always have, when I first started, I had manila folders with, or like file folders with their rehabs in there. And it was just one big, everyone had their own, and they would just leave it everywhere. And then all of a sudden there's rehabs and like notes lying all over the place. I'm like, well, this isn't good. So it's cut down on that. But I know some other ATs have like kind of more generic exercise plans printed out, or like QR codes that they can use. I know, Ashley, you have the QR code that the kids can scan, and then it takes them to like a Google folder that they can access a lot of the rehabs in. Do you feel like that works really well?
That works really well for me. And I like that. So some of my parents that are a little more involved in their kids' recovery as well, I will give them access to the Google Docs so that they can walk their
That
kids
was very
through the
well
exercises.
tiptoed.
But no, so it's been great and I absolutely love it. And then it has my cell phone number in there, so anyone can call me with questions, and I never really get calls. So it's been working out. I like it.
I think it's pivotal to have those. I like that more. I used to always download whatever. I was like, okay, you're on this, I'm going to download it, pop it into your EMR. But if there's just a QR code in my ATF or right outside that they can just scan and get it, that I feel like that's a lot more accessible. Katie, you said you have the pink sheets, right? Is that online at all?
No, we physically hand those out. we're a little behind.
Cringed as you said it.
I did, yeah. I do have them as like a PDF that I will email. We are just currently discussing checking the box that says that parents have allowed us to communicate with them through our EMR. So we're a little behind on using the same upgrades that you guys already use on your EMR. We have not explored that until I brought it up as an option to use. So we will be adding a consent to our athletic registration next year that says you consent to us sharing information with you via this option, so that we can actually use that. Which I think when they're consenting to the athletic trainers treating them, like there's probably some piece of that where we could just check the box and be able to send it to them. But all of these things that we're talking about, and you want to check all your boxes to make sure that you do it all the right way. We're exploring how to get, the ability to fully use our EMR to the extent that it's meant to be used. And this is one of them that I'm listening going, gosh, this is a good one we could be using it for right now. So I'm excited. We're going to learn a lot this summer. We're going to make big progress.
So that's actually good.
One of my colleagues, Brooke, she uses it on the concussion side of things, like I was talking about with the symptom checklist. She has a kid scan the QR code, and then they'll do their symptom checklist for that day, and then it gets booted over to a Google sheet, and then she takes and then has it set up where it divides into like each active concussion that she has right then. And then she actually has it set up where it'll then take and like graph the symptoms and hold like the total symptom score. And then when the kid's getting ready to go to the physician, she takes and then downloads that as PDF and then sends it to the kid and the physician. So kind of similar, it sounds like, maybe kind of like what Ashley's doing, like with the kids, like being able to access a certain folder. But this kind of, she has a macro set up on the back end so that it's kind of doing it itself. But yeah, making sure that we're checking all the boxes and doing this in a legal way, I think is always important. But that's nice, as you said, if we're using our school-based Google, that, we're at least halfway there on the HIPAA side of things.
Google is insane. Google is insanely powerful. Like the amount of things that you can do and the amount of communication between each of those apps is insane. Like you can have it pull and then you can pull graphs so you can see time all without you doing anything. You can see how they changed over the course of the recovery by pulling bullet points, and all they did was enter the numbers in. Like when you get it set up, it's a fine-tuned machine where it's really, really nice. It takes a little bit of setting up, but the amount of communication and documentation you do there is incredible. And Katie, you touched on a good point, which I want to get into. For the EMRs, we talked about this a little bit in documentation, but there's some features that are really, really helpful that as you get used to your EMR, you can kind of dive a little bit more into. One of the big ones that I always use was scheduling. Just like any high school, I'd always have 20 kids standing outside my door right when school got let out, and there was no rhyme or reason. There was just chaos. And I'd have kids who were the 6 o'clock practice slot coming in at 3:45 to get treatment or tape. And I'm like, you don't need to be here. I need to get the kids who are practicing at 4 o'clock out first. So I really leaned into the scheduling system in our EMR, and I had a QR code the kids could sign up for, and it became like a game where they would sign up first, and then I'd kind of go down the list of what time slot they signed up for. So I'd have slots of 4. So the first 4 people would come in, treat them, get them out. And then if you were doing rehab, you could just start your rehab and then you show up to your appointment later. And that was really helpful to just stretch everything out so that I didn't get bombarded. Cause I think we all kind of have that problem of everyone comes at once and then it's just dead. And then we're kind of running around getting called to injuries or whatever. So that's really been helpful. And then we also have a kiosk mode, which I've tried to use, but I just can't quite get a workflow down for it. Cause every time I switch between multiple schools. So whenever a kid logs into the kiosk mode and puts their name in and what they did, inevitably what they put in there is not usually correct. So I'm going back and I'm like, oh, I'm going to change their treatments and just accept it so I can document what I'm doing. But then I have no idea what that kid's name was. I don't really know what they actually did. So it's needs some tweaking. Still trying to figure that out. Katie, go ahead.
I use kiosk mode all the time. It's
Yeah?
my favorite option. I didn't have it as an option at my previous place. So the fact that they log in tracks their name and if they do it right, what they came in for, which again, we're tweaking to put in what they're coming in for because they don't know what they're doing. I love you, whoever did this, but the fact that you think that our kids know what lower and upper extremity are when you type it like that, no, put leg.
You'd think the lower and upper would be like a hint of like,
It's
well, it's my
not,
arm.
though.
That's pretty high up. I guess I'll put upper. Like, yeah, they always put lower.
So I will say I love kiosk mode because we do a pretty good job of getting them all to sign in through kiosk mode. And I love that for the fact if I can just approve all the tapers, like I can go, oh, tape. And that's awesome. But then after that, they do not know what they're picking. And so I am regularly going in and but it makes it easy because then I can choose between, if it's an evaluation, I put a full injury note and incident report in and all of this stuff. If it's a quick, hey, I talked to this person about their hip flexor and it's not really an injury and I didn't do a full evaluation, we just talked, here's their history and here's what we chatted about. And that note's done for the day. Hoping that what's it called? Open source, open evidence helps me with that. So I can just like plop that conversation in and be done. Will be really nice. But the kiosk mode for me is a dream. It does take a little longer to get through sign-ins, but it's worth it.
And it's a training thing. The kids get used to it for the most part. And if you have athletic training students, they can kind of help navigate that. Or other students can kind of help their teammates navigate that. I've seen that in a lot of clinics I've worked at where they walk them through how to put it in. The biggest issue I've found is the kids put in today's date instead of their birthday because they just can't read 2 lines. Like first name, last name is about as far as they get. And then they hit the date and they're like, it won't let me log in. I'm not in the system. I'm like, you put today's date, dude. It's your birthday. But they learn. So
I have like color coded sheets and everything for like having the kids like try to use the kiosk and stuff like that. So whenever they're like, I can't do it, I'm like, okay, read the directions on the yellow sheet and it should answer all of your questions. If you have questions beyond that, please let me know. But if it's on there, then I'm going to make fun of you for asking me a question that's up there. So, and then on the, oh my gosh, that makes me feel so much better that you guys can't get them to sign in under the correct like body part, let alone even diagnosis. We did get around that a little bit by just like creating an entire injury that is just no eval. And then that way they're just clicking that. And then it's actually nice because then I know that day, like who I needed to like actually go back and update and stuff like that in case I'm like rolling through. I'm like, oh yeah, those are my big ones that I need to make sure I put something in on.
Hold on. I need you to expand on that for a second. So you have like an option that says like, is it something where it's a quick, like a follow up, no treatment, or just like conversation or like injury when they're coming in? Like, so it identifies which ones actually need an updated note?
The way the ATS works, when they log a new injury, they can say, or they say body part, and then it actually gives them the option for diagnosis because it looks the same on their side and our side on that portion of a new injury. So instead of having the kid try and guess on tendinosis or, versus like rupture versus, all these different things, we just have a no eval option. We do actually also have a no injury soreness option, but they still go down, and sometimes it actually messes with us more because they'll be like, oh, I think this is, I don't know. like I think it's this, and you're just like, okay, that's cool. Thank you so much. But if you could just maybe follow his directions and put no eval, that would be amazing. Because then it doesn't technically flag it in the system, but I know looking at all the diagnoses, like, oh, I need to go back and document on that one.
Ours doesn't even let them. It just creates like a non-injury related, and it lets them select the body part. But then we have to go, and if there's already an injury created, we have to tie it to that. If there's not, we have to create an injury and then tie the treatment to that, or else it won't show up on their timeline. So it's a little bit finicky, but yeah. All right. Anything else on that stuff? Katie's twitching. What do you need? What you got?
No, I was disagreeing with you wholeheartedly because I
Me?
went from ATS and Healthy Roster is way easier. But I didn't have a kiosk mode for ATS. So, So I went from just having, so I had a Google Sheet that I kept track. And so I would have to go to my Google Sheet and then I would put it into ATS myself because I didn't have the ability to use the ATS key. Anyway, use your EMR to the full extent of its ability and your life will be easier is what I'm saying. Because I think going in and linking or not linking the kiosk mode to the injury is an easy part of my life. So that's because CJ's adjusted to the easy way.
Yeah, maybe it's just a lot of mine don't, like when they do log in, there's not a lot of injuries in there. So there's nothing to link to. So it makes my life a little bit more complicated, but yeah. Okay.
I went to a blank slate, CJ. So I create all the injuries. So they log in, they put that they came in for the eval. I go in, link it to a new injury, and now it's there. And now when they come in, I just link it back to the injuries that I've created, right? Like I blank slated it. So it's easy for me.
Yeah. I think if you're like at a school consistently, I think that workflow is a little bit easier. When you jump around a lot, it maybe gets a little more bogged down, but I'm sure there's a way to make it work pretty smoothly. I just haven't quite gotten there yet.
I want to say it's probably communication because that's usually what we come back to in every episode.
Yeah, probably. So last system we're going to talk about, and I put this in here mainly because one of my colleagues works with MLS, I think it's a B team, and they use load to determine kind of how much effort, or not how much effort, how much load is going on in practice. So how many miles, how much speed, they use that for return to play or like how much they're able to do in the next practice or games. And I know a lot of soccer teams that I've been talking to, the coaches are talking about how how to better manage the season, because the spring season for girls soccer is 2 weeks shorter than the fall season. And then they inevitably always get 3 games in a week toward the end of the season. This season one isn't nearly as bad because we had no snow, but usually we have cancellations early in the season, and then the back end gets so loaded, and it's the end of the season. They're doing 3 games, 4 games in a week. So they were talking about how to kind of manage that and be better in practice and be better in games. And I know some of the cameras that they have GPS tracking where they can track the number for the kids as they run across the field, which is kind of crazy to me that it's that accurate. Others have looked into GPS tracking, which is what my colleague uses, and they can see, okay, Jamie ran this many miles in this many minutes on the field. So you can kind of see the load that they're under and determine how much stress that athlete was under, because not every game's created the same, right? There's a lot of games that I've covered where it's 7-0 by 30 minutes left in the second half. And there's other games where it's 1-0 by 5 minutes left in the game. So obviously the 1-0, those kids you're going to have your starters in longer. It's more competitive. The other one, you can sub them out. They're not playing as many minutes. So that can kind of help you decide, okay, we need a lighter practice the next day. We need a little bit heavier. So curious to hear your thoughts, Ashley. Have you kind of chatted with that about that with your coaches? Has it come up in conversation? Have you seen anybody use it?
Nope. I have not seen any of that. I mean, I've seen the game footage and I know the cameras track, and that's pretty cool, but we haven't used any of that to our ability to track players and how much they can play and stuff.
So
How
you're
about you,
saying
Kate?
Hudl is actually like can track load? Like it's actually can quantify the number of like miles that my soccer player is running in that game, not just like how many assists they have?
I think so. That's what the coach described it as. It's like you can track them across the field.
I do think there's some there's additional issue, like things that come with that. I think everybody's seen the camera stand go up right in front of your athletic training table on the
Always.
sidelines, because apparently we must be at the 50-yard line in order.
And it picks
for
up
to be
volume
accurate.
too, which is it's very specific. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really want you
I'm
guys
like,
recording when I'm doing an
I guarantee
evaluation.
they've heard me say, really? We have to put the camera right in front of my table? Don't worry about me. I don't need to run out on the field for an injury. Don't mind me. In case you're wondering, I think that these cameras are the stupidest thing that's ever happened to the game of soccer, but it's fine. I understand their worth from a standpoint of what we are talking about, which is initially they had to put the little tracker in their sock. So they all had, they have the sock wrap that goes around to hold their shin guard in place. The cameras all had those initially, that like you put the tracker in their sock, and so their number matched their tracker, and then the tracker would tell you how much steps they were taking and the distance and all of that. I think now just the camera itself, the technology has improved to just go based off number, is how that works. Again, just put it on the other side of the field from me. I don't care, but why does it have to be right in front of my table?
Because then you get all the fans on the audio.
They don't
can't
want
have
my
that.
voice on the audio though. So
I had one of my students who was standing right next to it, and she actually just graduated this year, but she was just trash talking the other team and like calling them soft and do all this stuff. And she was just shadowing me. the coach comes over to break it down. She's just like, "Does that have audio?" And he's like, "Yeah." She goes, "You might want to mute it. I'm sorry." So funny. All right. Yeah. I've talked about it a little bit. I was just curious to get y'all's thoughts on that, because it's something that could in the future, like maybe be something, or it could be something where it's just another quagmire where it's not really worth our time. But let's dive into the apps. We have a ton of them. So
I think it's a good data collection tool that we'll ignore, kind of like Helmet.
Don't get me started. We don't have enough time. Okay, so first thing I want to throw in with apps. They're usually on your phone, unless you have an iPad that's from work, or unless you have a work phone. But there is a discussion around, if you have a lot of work apps on your phone, that work-life balance starts to get a little bit blurry. Even when you're off work, like we've talked about, I think it was actually in the work-life balance episode, Katie comes home and she gets out of her work clothes, even though they're really nice clothes, into her like comfy, relaxed, this is my life clothes. And the same thing kind of is important for the phone. When you have apps like on your main screen, whenever you open up your phone and you're off, it's just going to remind you of work, and then that work-life balance is starting to degrade. If you have notifications for Lightning, which I have, like when it's a Sunday, I forget to turn it off and I get notifications for Lightning, and that's just, again, putting me in kind of like the work mindset subconsciously. So it's annoying to have them. If you can hide them, if you have a work mode, or if you have like a, actually I think the like routines, what is it on Apple routine, something like that. That can maybe
Focus.
hide it. Huh? Oh, the focus mode?
I think it's called focus.
Okay. That can kind of hide it. You can hide it in your like all apps screen, get it off your main screen, but kind of want to start this off with, while there are a lot of great apps, use them, but also kind of keep in mind to protect your work-life balance and not just clutter your phone and have them all on the front screen, because you are not just your job. You're not just work. Your phone is your personal device. You should be able to have it available for personal use and not just be reminded of work all the time. So I'm going to hop off my soapbox there, and go into the first one, which is maybe an app. I don't know if this is a system or not. MedBridge does have an app, but Hep2Go, is that just a website, or do they have an app that you can use? Do you guys know?
I think it's just a website. I've never heard of an app, so
Okay, I put it in the wrong section then. But either way, MedBridge, I'm pretty sure, has an app where you can send rehabs through. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I did put that in the right one. Having those, super helpful. Do you guys use either of those, Hep2Go or MedBridge, for home exercise planning? How about you, Katie?
Yeah, I use it to build the programs, but I don't send it. I know some of my coworkers like pay for the subscription to be able to send it. I don't pay for it, so I just build my programs on it and then send it.
That's what I do as well.
Separate.
Yeah.
That's always one of my like beginning of the year, like because I have the MedBridge and I like it because I have a couple of Spanish speaking only kids, and having that translation is really, really, really nice. Not just Google Translate, us handing that back and forth, because again, it doesn't do great with medical words. So I like having MedBridge for that. And at the beginning every year, I'm like, I'm going to text this to every kid. And then inevitably, like a weekend, I like, default to just writing it down, just because, I mean, I think you can know some of those systems backwards and forwards, but like, I don't know about you guys. Like, I have so many like kooky changes that I've made to like an exercise to individualize it to that kid, and the time that it takes to find that in the system and then like retype like well, no, I want you doing this or standing, at a 90-degree angle or something like that. It just ends up not being great. So I just kind of revert back to just writing it down, but strive to be more efficient next year, perhaps.
And yeah, I think that's the key. Like like Katie said, you're going to implement stuff and then it's going to fall off, and you're going to kind of get back on the bandwagon, and it's a process. We're going to skip the next one just because you mentioned the Google Translate. Have you guys heard of DeepL? DEEPL? It's what our translators from, I think it's Searcom is what it's called, but that's what they use. So it's a translation app that seems pretty good, and I'm pretty sure it's for medical. But I'm not sure. I haven't looked super in depth into it, but the translators that we use have mentioned that they use DeepL. So that's something that you can use if you have a population of different languages that you cannot communicate super well in. It's pretty helpful. Do you guys have any other, just Google Translate primarily, that you use? Yeah. Oh. Again,
we
check
laugh
these
about
things.
that, but that could be like if you're giving like instructions, like that's a really not good. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, that could be a huge issue. All right, what's the next one we have on here? That one's iCanLearn.com. Have you guys heard of that? I got this one from my wife, who's a PT. So it's a website that is, I think it's for like children. So when you log on, it's like kindergarten stuff, right? Like a ladybug walk across the screen. It's got two pictures and you have to find the differences between two. It's got different colored circles on the edges of the screen and then one circle in the middle that changes colors, and you have to look at the circle in the middle and then point to the color, coordinate color. So it's really, really good for concussion rehab, like fantastic. And that's what my wife primarily uses it for. She'll use it for like, all right, I want you to use your eyes and track across the screen as this ladybug goes across. And then once you feel symptoms come up, stop, wait for it to reset, and then do that again. The back and forth finding the differences of the pictures are great for saccades. If they have issue with horizontal, it's phenomenal. But it's always funny because I pull it up. I'm like, all right, here's your rehab. And then it goes to like a kindergarten website and they're like, what? I'm like, no. It's actually really good. It's really helpful. But it's I Can Learn, EYEcanlearn.com. It's fantastic. Do you guys use any, I know we're going to get into kind of like Sway, but do you guys use any other websites for like vestibular rehab or any other concussion recovery stuff specifically? No? Okay. Well, I Can Learn. Now you have that. You're welcome.
I'm gonna try it. I want to watch the ladybug.
It's great. And there's one where they you have to like focus on a fish, and then a shark comes up and eats the fish, and it's like the introduction of like stimulus to a stationary object. And it's pretty good. There's a lot of really good stuff on there. Okay, weather. This one's a big one. Some of these are free, some of these are not. So that's going to be a big factor in this. I used to use My Lightning, which I found a lot more accurate than WeatherBug. But now we used Weather Sentry, which was nice because it can send out alerts to the coaches. And you can get like a tower at your own little location. And now we use PeriWeather, which we can't send out notifications to coaches because it's an add-on, which is kind of obnoxious. But they do have meteorologists on call for what that's worth. I've used it once, and they said, hey, how's this snow? Like, is it supposed to be keep on going? He goes, yeah, it's snowing. So, okay, thank you. So not super like, yeah.
I'm sorry, was that a helpful statement?
No, I was like, I'm curious to see, like, is this going to be safe for kids to drive home? Is it going to pick up in the next 5 hours? Like, let's just see what this whole meteorologist feature has. And they're like, yeah, it's going to keep on snowing, it looks like. I'm like, all right, thank you. It's very helpful.
Amazing.
So we'll stick with those four right now: Weather Sentry, WeatherBug, PeriWeather, My Lightning. Katie, what are your thoughts on weather apps? Do you use these? Do you use different ones?
Yeah, I'm a WeatherBug genius at this point. I actually feel like I can do WeatherBug and use it better than some of these other systems do. It's funny. But I think more of it's like my familiarity with weather in Colorado and like the specific location I'm used to standing at all the time. I can be like, not worried about that storm. This one's coming right at us, guys. We got to go. And I think that's just experience with it more than it is related to those. We have Weather Sentry. We have a station on our building. The alerts are about 2 minutes behind. Both when I'm watching it, I'll get the lightning strike alert about a minute after I actually see the lightning strike, which is not comforting. And then it takes another minute before the siren actually goes off, which is really annoying when you're trying to clear a field and people are like, the siren hasn't gone off. And I'm like, but it's going to. Like, and then on the flip side, it's like the all clear and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for it to actually ding the all clear. And you're like, come on, man. I think that's a build better relationship situation. It's great. Use it so that you have reference for what the weather is doing, but this is a safety call. And if you build relationships better, it's easier to clear a field. In fact, just yesterday, just walked onto the soccer field and did the little siren thing, and he blew the whistle, ended the game. And I was like, thank you, sir. Because he understood like, hey, this was not a maybe, let's go. And so I think it's more of just build those relationships, know what you're looking for. So
don't you guys wish we actually had like maybe you did a quick meteorology like portion of one of our education? Like, how many times do I get asked like, well, is it going to blow over? And I'm like, I mean, at this point, 20 years in, yes, I have like poured over like weather fronts and maps and can like read all of that. But the first couple of years I was like, I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. Like, and as you said, like, just getting to know whether the place that you're at, but that's got to be so hard if you're kind of like going around to different schools. Like I know now that if it comes over one particular mountain ridge that like, yep, that's going to hit us like 85% of the time, unless, you know, there's something kooky coming in from the other direction. But like, yeah, we become the weather czar with like very little education.
Yeah, I joke all the time about my minor in meteorology that I didn't actually get, but like at my old location, if it was to the east, you didn't have to worry about it. As long as it's past you, like if it's a strike within 6 miles, but it's to the east, it's not coming back. It's already on its way past us. It's already gone. Whereas where I'm at now, it'll circle back. So I can't use that same rule. I know for a fact the person who followed me at that location fought with the coaching staffs because they would pull it up on their phone and they'd be like, nope, Katie taught us. It's to the east of us. We don't have to clear this field. And I was like, oh gosh darn it, you guys. It is a judgment call. And like we used multiple people to make our decisions. So we would do a rogue strike rule. If it was outside of 8 miles and it was to the east, we would watch it. But then now CHSA mandated, 10 miles. So now that made it a little bit more difficult. But like clearing fields versus going back out onto fields, like there were always judgment calls made. And like that's only after years of experience with this particular weather pattern at this particular site, right? So any new place I go to, like when I moved to a new school, I was like, oh, this is totally different. And it looks different too. Have you gone to other states and seen what their lightning storms look like? It looks different. It is wild. So my point was I agree with Amy. It's like athletic training should include a minor in meteorology.
You know, sometimes I do like the like, look, I'm not a weather expert. You and I are looking at the same thing. I don't know. Like we're just doing our best.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit the play button.
Everyone a little happier.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Like
so we used to have these like lightning detectors
the pagers?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, no. Okay. It was
pagers were so bad.
I had that in my clinic when I first got to my old school.
And you
like, what is this?
Ball hearts, and you couldn't use them near stadium lights, and you were just like, so not in our jobs then?
Okay, when I started, everybody had one of the little pagers, and we would all stand in a circle with our little pagers, and we would play games with the lights, and you had to move to be next to the person with the lights that were the same colors as yours, because they did not work.
No, not even a little bit. So as frustrating as some of like the inaccuracies between like the different platforms now, I feel like we are in such a better place. Like we're not running inside to the computer, like trying to like connect and then like pull up the website, you know what I mean? And like wait for it to load.
Listen,
so the fact we can stand there.
The reason I go back to WeatherBug all the time is do you guys remember when Spark came out? Because I remember when Spark came out and it was thrilling. Like it wasn't always great, but it was so much better than what existed.
Yeah.
And it gives coaches the ability to see it too, which I think is huge. Yeah. If they check it, which a lot of the times I hear, well, I didn't check to see. I'm like, did you not hear and see the lightning and thunder? Like that's kind of your reminder. I should check to see where this is.
No, the way people don't understand the 30-30 rule and or like, yes, you heard thunder. That means there's lightning. Like that's how that works. I did, you guys, fun quick story because this is who I am. I had a lacrosse kid shocked last week that other teams had to clear the field. It wasn't just lacrosse and baseball. They thought that the only sports that had to clear in lightning storms were the ones holding metal implements. And I was like,
the other way yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, my track team was like, oh, we're just running. And I'm like, no. You still need to come inside. Like,
he was shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked that everyone else was at risk of getting struck by lightning, not just the guys holding the metal implements. So, mind you, aluminum implements at that. But yes.
Oh, isn't it great working with high school kids?
Oh my gosh, could write.
I'd say the funniest things.
So
books.
Okay, so last weather one that we're going to talk about. Last two are Air Now and IQ Air Visual. These are both air quality apps. I used the IQ Air. Amy?
And I've got another one, Purple Air.
Purple Air. Cool.
Yeah.
Add that on there. I have a bad feeling that we're going to be needing these more this year. I first started using IQ Air when I think it was 2020 or 2021, I think, when we had like that huge fire up in Rocky Mountain. And our air quality was the worst in the world for a couple of days, and it was horrible. And we were checking every single day to see what restrictions we need to put on. And it was good because we implemented policies for, hey, if the AQI is at this point, we need to do this, and we have to practice inside because it's not safe. So that was one I used, which was pretty nice.
I think that's when I talked about documenting the weather. I think that's when I started documenting in our documentation episode. I think that's what I had to start doing that then, is because I was like, oh, document the air quality today just in case. Because parents were calling the school saying, how dare you let the kids run outside in this? And we were like, well, we're doing the best we can. We're checking, we're documenting, we're keeping track.
It's tough. And that's something that I had never, I didn't get any, maybe a little bit of training on like air quality, but not a lot. I had to learn on the job for that. I was like, I don't know what to do here. Is Purple just a basic air quality index app as well, Amy?
No. The municipalities around us, it's a system. So they have a Purple Air system, and but it'll also link into not just Purple Air monitors, any air monitor. And so we happen to have one at the top of our hill, within 500 yards of the school. And so it's really nice having like on-site AQI to make our determinations. So
nice.
Fully appreciate that. And it's neat because you can choose the particulate matter, like the 2.5 versus whatever the other number is. But you can also put it into like number of cigarettes smoked. So like it's a really neat, like, okay, like, hey, why can't we go outside and do our time trials today? It's like, well, because being outside for an hour would be the equivalent of smoking 10 cigarettes, like that kind of thing. Like,
I love that.
Damn, that is awesome.
Yeah, I actually really like it. So it does go down every once in a while. So a colleague over in Aspen, she's like, we were talking about air quality because we know that conversation is coming up. And she's like, yeah, one of my monitors is way off. So if like a bug gets stuck in there, that same thing happened to me last year. I needed to call people and be like, hey, so one of the monitors isn't doing what it should be doing. But I mean, that's actually kind of nice as well, because you're like, oh no, it's for real working. You just need to make sure it's continuing to work.
I love that. I will throw in, I didn't put this on the list, but Kestrel, the units for the Sling psychometry site. Yeah. They have an app that hooks up. So you just set it up and you can monitor wind speed, humidity, all that kind of stuff. Just your monitor that you were talking about, Amy, reminded me that Kestrel has something that you can monitor for heat as well, which is pretty nice.
Amy, is that app called My Purple Air?
I think there are actually two. There's not an actual app on that one. I think it will say it's an app, but it's one of those it's actually just like a home screen icon, and they're make that as your app.
Oh, because it just links you to the website.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good to know.
I think the My Purple Air might be for if you own one of the things to change the settings on it. But then anybody can access all the Purple Airs that are around you. I wish that it's free, so I can't complain too much, and I've relied on it so much. But I wish that it could send you an update when it got above a certain level, because we have all of those numbers, and you're like, oh man, if I'm not monitoring it, yeah.
That's a good point. All right. So getting out of weather, I bought this app. I think it was $2 or $3 when I bought it back in college. It's now 10 or 11, but it's a one-time fee. So to me, it was worth it. It's called Atlas Human Anatomy. And it essentially is just an app on your phone that you can kind of show kids their muscle, where it attaches. It has some videos for movement, but they're not super great. But it helps them visualize what we're explaining. So if I'll have a ligament that is more of a long-term injury, or an MPFL ligament or ACL, I use it a lot, or even some strains like rotator cuff stuff, I'll pull the app up and you can cut stuff out from the layers and hide them so that it only shows what you're looking at. And then you can kind of show them, hey, here's what this attaches. And then let's click on this video. Now see how it makes this move. See how if this is damaged, this motion is going to be more painful, and this is why we're doing this. Look at the joint, how the shoulder is, and if the rotator cuff's not strong, see how shallow that joint is. So they can kind of visualize everything to where I always, because every injury that I have, I feel like I don't have a poster. Because I have the most common posters, but those aren't the ones that kids really want to see. Like ankles, everyone kind of knows the ankle. They kind of know what it looks like. But whenever I want to get into that deep, like, oh yeah, this is your MPFL, it's just hard to find on some of the posters. So I can kind of show them, and then I can take the patella and I can make it go away, and I can show them the groove in the femur and say, hey, this is what this ligament helps keep it in, and this is why we need to, this tape's going to help it here. And it just helps their education a lot, which I find really helpful. I don't do it for all the small stuff, but I do it for the bigger ones to help them kind of know what they're looking at. Ash.
So I have an app that does the same thing. It's called Anatomy Learning, and it's free. And it's probably not quite as cool as your paid version, but it does a really good job. And you can like add layers and take away layers, and so it's kind of pretty cool.
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna have to check that out.
There
Is
are
that-
in-app purchases, but like you can use a basic form.
Okay. The one thing I don't like about the Atlas one is it's hard to navigate. Like you use 2 fingers to rotate and zoom in, but then it also like flips it 3. Like it's hard to kind of zoom in and get to where you need to be. But yeah, I'm gonna check out that Anatomy Learning one because I think I feel like having more tools to educate our athletes on their injuries is never a bad thing. Any other apps that you guys use for education stuff before we move on? Cool. Sway. Who's used Sway? Who's familiar with Sway?
Oh, me.
Right, Katie, you're in charge of this segment.
I don't think I need to be in charge of this. It's very simple to use when you have it. I've done all of their trainings because I'm a nerd. We've discussed this. But it takes like 10 minutes for you to learn the system. It's a great way. We baseline Sway all of our athletes still because it is so quick and easy to use. As someone who came from the Impact era, I will tell you Sway is the greatest. You can use it for a bunch of injuries. We only use it for our concussions, but again, if you were using it to the greatest of its ability, it also links to Healthy Roster. In fact, they are now the same company. And I love it. I love that they connect to each other. I don't have to do as much concussion documentation anymore because Healthy Roster and Sway talk to each other. Big proponent, big lover of Sway and using it. There are very few phones, but I've run into a handful of kids whose phones don't do it. But it's really simple to use. Again, can't say enough about it. It's easy. It keeps the documentation up to date. It's great.
When a kid's phone won't work with it, can they just use another kid's phone to do it?
Yes.
Or no? Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. In fact, there have been days where it is actually just faster for me to like take tests now, hit it on my phone. I put my phone in do not disturb and they just go. And I literally all of my concussion symptom checks, I just write their code on the board. They come in, they do their code every day and it's done and it links it to the system. I don't even have to go put a note in.
It's a paid add-on for Healthy Roster, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds worth it though.
Totally.
Yeah.
How's the sideline eval on this way?
Yeah, we lost her.
She gone.
She dropped.
This is her time to shine.
When she gets her new job, she can afford a new computer.
Afford some good internet. I'm going to send her an Ethernet cable for whatever the next
Yes.
holiday coming up is. 4th of July.
Yep.
Her
Her
computer
just
just shut off. Okay. Well, we'll try and circle back around. But all right, last topic that we're going to touch on is wearable tech. I know a lot of the kids have like Apple Watches, some Garmin, some other stuff because that's the extent of my knowledge on wearable watches. But it's helpful for heart rate, pulse, ox. I don't know how accurate that is, but I also don't know how accurate our finger ones are. Well, actually, I do. They're not very. Have you guys seen any other wearable tech other than watches that kind of caught your eye? You're like, oh, that's really cool.
No, not for like general health, only for specific conditions that doctors are tracking.
How about the automated blood pressure cuffs? Have you used those?
I was going to buy one and then someone was like, it's so inaccurate. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm not even going to bother. But yeah. And I don't take blood pressure very often in my clinic.
Yeah.
So I was also like, is it worth it even?
And when I need it to be correct.
Yes,
I don't need
need
it to be
to be
kind of
super
correct.
accurate. Yeah.
Right. It's nice that you can just hook it up and press a button and then keep on doing like whatever
Yeah.
probably emergency care that you're doing in the first place. But again, is it like, when is blood pressure ever going to change what you're doing in the case of emergency? Helps you get to a
Correct.
diagnosis.
Yeah, for us. Yeah.
But usually at that
And it-
point, you've
yeah.
already called 911.
Yeah, and it would guide like medication for like an EMT or something, but
Mhm.
yeah, we're not doing that. So I haven't really had the need for that. And you know, in an emergency situation, I wouldn't even have time to do it before EMTs arrived. So
Mm-mm. I think it's helpful when like somebody's like getting faint and you have
Yes,
time to like,
and
okay,
that's
let's
when I
look
use
at
it.
yeah. But yeah, and then it's hands on. It's like there's no point in having the automated. I don't
Mhm.
think. I didn't know that it wasn't
I
super
agree.
accurate. Makes sense, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
because it's
also-
too difficult.
yeah, I've also had people who took my blood pressure where I'm just like, you just totally missed where my artery is. And I know you didn't hear anything because my
Yeah.
artery runs a little bit more medial than that, and you were pretty lateral. And
I've
they're like,
experienced
oh,
that too.
122 over 81. I'm like, oh, how convenient. I'm within 2 and
Normal
1
range,
of
yeah.
the normal range. Huh. Cool.
I use the heart rate stuff for like our Buffalo tests and that kind of thing. But so it's nice when a kid's got an Apple Watch, even if we're not looking at the exact number, if it's that number is consistent for them, and then we can take and base their workouts off of that, you know, for the coming days. I think that's helpful. I think like a lot of technology, like body fat, blood pressure, anything, it's maybe not the actual number, it's the percent change between, you know, just realizing that it might be an inaccurate and just looking at like how it affects that person specifically in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have the bioelectric impedance handheld things for?
Yes, I do, and it's semi-accurate, but mine is ancient.
Mine
Like,
was too.
I have no idea how long that one has been around. It was in my facility when I got there. But this season we were testing it and its accuracy between like the skin fold calipers and the actual bioelectric impedance. And it was pretty close. So I was like, oh, okay, like it's
Really?
maybe an additional tool, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't think I would rely on it though.
That's one of the things where I know there's a technology episode. I actually prefer the old school way. I like the skin caliper and doing the equation.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Like just the fact that it's not if you look into the formulas, because any of those ones should be telling you that the formula that they're using to be able to get to that. And none of that stuff is validated for kids under 18 or athletes, or in
Yep.
some cases, even females.
I
So
saw that this season too.
female wrestlers, like, we're just like, we're just going to pull a number and just call it good. So you're just like, awesome.
That's for the bioelectric impedance devices?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's atrocious. Like moving from Ohio where we had like where we did skin folds, and then your other option was bod pod. Well, you did your
Who could
regular
afford a
stuff.
bod pod?
I mean, you can go and just like do a session or whatever at
Okay.
you know, some of the hospitals or Ohio State. It's not like you actually own it. You just have to like go and do it that day. But wrestling's real big in Ohio. People would spend big money
That's true.
at the one, although they were generally pretty disappointed because their body fats would typically come out even lower, and they were hoping for like a higher body fat. So moving to Colorado and talking with them, be like, no, we just use the impedance, and you're like, oh, okay. But you know, any of that stuff, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but I think until we do mat side weigh-ins, I think all of that is just it is a step in the right direction, but I don't know if it's necessarily the answer.
No.
So I want to extrapolate on that comment right there, Amy, because I think that's a
Oh,
perfect way
no,
to kind
okay.
of finish this out. No, in a good way. Like technology, I think we always harp on it as this is new technology. Use it, implement it. It's going to be great. Sometimes it just falls flat on its face, and that's okay. Sometimes it doesn't work in your workflow. Some things will work and some things won't, and that's okay. You know, I think the thing I want to caution people against is don't get too set in your ways to where you can't implement something that's easier. Handwritten stuff is easy. We've been doing it forever. It's easy to track. It might take some more time, but embrace technology, embrace new things. Doesn't mean you have to like get married to it and stay with it for the rest of your career, but like try it out and see how it works and implement it, test it out. If it doesn't work, try it again some other time, change the workflow, go back to what was working well. but don't be scared to try stuff and know that it might fail, and that's okay. Okay. Any final thoughts?
I would say a good final thought is we've talked about a lot of really cool things we can use. And in this day and age, new tech is just constantly coming out. So I think we have more to go. Um, but if you're going to use a new, technology tool, do some quick Googling, make sure that you're following all the rules you need to be following. Because even looking into it, a lot of these AIs, you need to have a BB, whatever those forms are. You need to have those agreements signed in order for it to truly be HIPAA compliant, which is funny. But so look into what you're using, make sure it's within the rules and you're allowed to be using it. And then, yeah, don't be afraid to use trial and error, and don't be afraid. All of our, older, more experienced athletic trainers in the field, I know a lot of you are resistant to technology change, but I promise it can help in the long run and it will help your life. So don't be afraid.
Well said. All right. Well, let's get us out of here. If you guys have any apps or websites or workflows that you use, please send it in. Just putting this together, I think there was like 6 new apps that the team recommended that I had no idea existed, that they use pretty regularly. So I'm sure there's a whole bunch more out there that we would benefit from that we're not aware of. So please message us, let us know, talk with your colleagues. They might have things that they use that you had no idea existed, and just try and implement those. So that will be all for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Amy, Ashley, and Katie for hopping on and sharing their expertise. If you enjoyed the conversation, also don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast, as well as sending that feedback. We want to make the show better, more relevant for you, and helpful for your everyday life. So that feedback is super important, so we can keep on making changes and make the show what you guys want and need. New episodes are released every other Friday, so be sure to check back for the next one. Until then, as always, thank you so much for listening, and take care.